Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, how are you doing today, babe?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. Oh, now I hear the honking.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, hopefully if it doesn't end, I'll just mute myself while we keep the conversation going.
we were just having a conversation before we went live of how we're both doing this one remote, and I just heard what sounded like my neighbors hanging up cabinetry, and then I heard a small child playing outside, and he was talking about road noise. So y'all forgive us. This is this is the post-COVID age of everybody being remote. And speaking of post-COVID age, it definitely sucked, but created a lot of opportunities in e-commerce. And today we have a very special guest to talk to us. He's actually noted as the godfather of Seller Central, I believe is what I heard. And so let's go ahead and bring him on stage. We have Stefan Haney with Foundry Brands. Stefan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. And I have to apologize on the branding for the episode. I actually think I'm using your old logo. You guys changed logos like
minutes ago. Just minutes ago.
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah, this is a big launch week for us at Foundry. So a press release went out on Monday. We kind of named it a Bloomberg article on Monday. It's been syndicated a number of places. With that, we went from basic branding to the brand. And we got a lot of people at the Prosper show right now from Foundry who are talking to brands and talking about the potential to come work with us or be acquired at Foundry. So yeah, new logo, new look, because it's great. You really feel the gas and the energy of turn the corner with that press release and that funding. We've been working so hard, and all of a sudden, whoosh, it's like going around the pace laps at India 500, and then the flag goes, right?
And you guys have a new CEO too, right? Helen, she just joined the team.
Yeah, so she that was part of the announcement. So Helen Vade, in a small e-commerce world, I actually intersected with Helen several years back. We had looked at possibly working together at a different company, and wasn't the right time, right fit. And so as we come back around, we're excited to have Helen joining and taking leadership helm at Foundry. So, and I think the place she chose at that point just really equipped her. Helen's got a great international background. She's lived in multiple countries of the world. And we think that's one of the key things. Right now, there's a lot of focus on Amazon US. And there's a lot of reason to be. There's a lot of big fish and a lot of sales here. But, if you look out 3-4 years and go, what's going to continue to be true, right? Let's build on a basis of what's going to continue to be true. Then I think continued globalization will continue to be true. Going to where customers are. Walmart just announced 100,000 sellers today, I think, or yesterday. They've hit that mark. So customers will continue to shop multiple channels versus one dominant channel. So we're excited. Helen brings that viewpoint. Again, multiple channels, working closely with small business and sellers, and just great customer focus. So excited to have her join us as our leader.
Awesome. Well, maybe in the future we can have Helen on the show, but today this is your episode. So let's learn a little bit more about your background and kind of how you found your way to Foundry. So you spent a really long time at Amazon, and somewhere in the middle there had time to raise a big old family. Did I understand correctly? 7 kids?
Yeah, you guys are talking about disruption and things, and look, that's my life. My wife and my kids, 7 to 19, and it's such a party. You learn the same things. It's just how to scale, right? That's 27 meals a day, right? We'll figure it out. How do we get one cell phone plan that covers that? Or you try to buy airline tickets, and you can only buy 6 passengers at one go. So. It's fun, but they do helpful things like bring you coffee as well as disrupt you. So it's a good party. We moved from so originally I had worked in Chicago in the Midwest, and my wife and I moved from Chicago to Seattle in 2003. and we were just looking for more outdoor space. We had friends at a church there, and we were excited about the area. And we started looking for work, found work at Amazon first. And in 2003, it's like back in time, that's before Kindle. That's before the iPhone. That's before Amazon FBA. That's before AWS. Like none of those things existed. Amazon was 2,500 employees. So we even thought like, well, let's move to Seattle. We'll work for Amazon. If it works out, great. As long as it works out for a year, and then maybe we'll go work at Starbucks or Microsoft or some other place. If it doesn't work out, 16 years later, it worked out. So it was really a great time just to see how all those businesses started at Amazon. So I started 2003 to 2007, 2009, working in supply chain, and really how do you go from being a book media company to having purchasing and forecasting and understanding customer shopping across 40 some odd product categories, right? How do you make your software work that way? How do you learn about those businesses without hiring hundreds of people? We're going to do it now, right away, all at once. And then 2009, I joined the third-party marketplace team. And what a great, I hadn't read Good to Great until after my time at Amazon, Jim Collins' book. But I feel so blessed. I got to work in a Good to Great story because 2009, Peter Pharisee had taken the helm, and I joined him there. And he was like, please take care of Seller Central. And I'm like, okay, whatever I can do to help, we'll drive growth. Marketplace and third-party sellers, roughly about $9 billion and roughly about 25% of Amazon's business. And less than 10 years later, it's $150 billion and, well over 55%. And so to be just kind of, it's like riding a wave to shore. I'm not sure if I was on top of it or just in it or rolling through it. But, we're hiring literally hundreds of people. You're in a hiring phase where you're hiring almost more people that are on the team today. And then, just watching, doing the needful to drive growth. Great experience, great opportunity. So I don't know if I don't want to claim the self-adopted title, but I was responsible for Seller Central as we grew it, and probably made a variety of good, bad, and otherwise decisions. But I had made some great hires, and some of those people made some great decisions in Seller Central. But there are things that I directly, nope, we're not going to do that yet, or we need to do this now, because this was the key tool set for sellers to run their business on Amazon. And some of the quotes when I first took responsibility were, yes, I can't wait to go grow my business on Amazon, but using your tools is like crawling over broken glass to get to the golden promised land. And I think we made a lot of changes in that tool set. We heard a lot better comments later.
Got better reviews.
Yeah, I know. So customer reviews of the tool set. But then I got to do that. I got to run the Amazon detail page, which was a lot of fun for 3 years. And that's, talk about e-commerce fun. That at that point, it's I came to a team, and that's one of the oldest things on Amazon. So how do you think about new opportunities, or how do you think about invention, innovation? And so helping to get the team focused on, yes, we've had a detail page for books for years, but there's still so much to invent. Is it easy to shop for clothes on Amazon or anywhere online? No, there's still enough to invent. Is it easy to shop for furniture? No. And what great timing with COVID, because what happened with COVID? All of a sudden, the order went whoosh, right? And all these new customers were online. And it's like this biggest A/B test experiment in a long time, because people were shopping online for things that they hadn't. It's like, well, we might as well try it. Not going to go out to a store, can't go out to a store. So it's been interesting to watch during COVID what people are inventing. So that's a little bit of my background with Amazon. Left Amazon 2019 because I have these lovely children, and I like them, and I like my wife, and it's time you're never going to get back in life. But also Amazon's grown. There's a lot of operations that happen, and I like the thrill of the build. What can we do that keeps that transforming? 2003, obvious transformation, shopping for furniture. What can we invent? I just like that invention. And so as I started watching this, two things, just trying different things, working with different companies to see where I could balance my time, but also do more invention. And that's where we got to some of the things that we've listed. I work with Eastern Europe with some e-commerce company there. It's maybe the Amazon of Romania, but they're the largest e-commerce company in Romania, multi-billion plus at EMAG, and they're growing a third-party marketplace. So, like, I've seen this movie. Let's maybe I can help you bypass some of the potholes that I fell into, or brick walls. And it's great to watch them as they start to see more international sellers coming into Eastern Europe. We have to educate a lot of people about Romania. It's not just a place where Dracula's castle is. It's Transylvania. It's the gateway, and there's it's a pretty good economy e-commerce wise. It's in the same space as Italy and Spain, maybe even growing a little faster with less competition. So sellers go, you can either fight for the buy box on Amazon in Spain, or maybe you should try additional marketplaces like Romania. So that's been fun for me. And then also Foundry is, this last year, lots of money's been out there to grow brands. So.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. A few billion.
Yeah. Well, I think that money is really what's going to drive all this innovation that you're also talking about, right? I mean, with a lot of the aggregators that are coming into the space and all the, I would say, newer money that's coming into the space, hopefully we do start to see larger competitors to Amazon. That way it'll push that torch. It'll light that or reinvigorate that torch that maybe COVID reinvigorated into Amazon to find all these new facets of innovation in every sector of e-commerce, whether it's supply chain, whether it's advertising, whether it's product listing. I mean, that's really what I'm most excited as a consumer about. But on the service provider level, at the same time, I think that's going to push new infrastructure, right? New infrastructure heavily into supply chain, hopefully, because this is, we've been driving a lot with marketing, with, let's even say, just product listing. And I haven't seen as much takeoff for sellers when it comes to setting up their proper, back-end operation for supply chain. So that's what I'm really, really excited about. I hope to see a lot of new money there, because that's ultimately what's going to drive them to go to Romania, to go to Spain, to try out these new marketplaces, understand what, the distribution of those marketplaces actually are. And with your background, you mentioned that you were in supply chain in Amazon. So what did that mean?
Yeah. My team was responsibility for transacting purchase orders for all the inventory that was sold on Amazon that Amazon purchased. So, we cut the purchase orders, but that also meant we had to select a vendor. That also meant we had to look at vendor lead time variability. And then, right now it's interesting to me, being on the other side of it, like, why am I seeing 11, 12, 14 days to receive product from the time it shows up into the Amazon warehouse, right? Mm-hmm. That variability just really hammers. I mean, that's working capital, right? If I have to buy that much more inventory to account for the variability, I now had to stick working capital in that. So I've been interested to watch Shipium, Flexi, Bolt, right? These startups, many of which include ex-Amazon logistics and ex-Amazon people, starting to fill a gap for third-party sellers. And I think you're right. We're seeing just the beginning of that, where here are alternative options. I think Flexi is basically saying we can bring Prime-like capability to any online merchant, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get free 2-day delivery, free 1-day delivery? I now live in Moscow, Idaho, and I have Prime eventually. It's not the same as when I was in Bothell, Washington, and order by midnight, get it by 8 a.m. So I think logistics there, and I think that's part of what we get excited about Foundry is you have someone who's been running a $2 to $3 million business, $4 million business. COVID hits, they get double the growth, and we sometimes call that testing to failure in software, right? My product can't handle that. I wasn't built for that. I can't handle just the growth, much less the variability. So I want to see brand agencies. There's a lot of press that goes on the money that they have raised to acquire companies. I think a little less focus is Foundry is definitely focused on what are the capabilities that a brand portfolio company needs to have to be here 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So whether it's logistics, whether it's customer connection, new product development, and we're going to do that at scale, at portfolio scale. So that's one of the bets that a founder can say, I'm going to sell my brand to Foundry and join them, be part of their collective, get my earn out there, because they're going to give me access to capability that I wouldn't have or afford myself, right? So I win because I win on the earn out. The brand owner wins. Their products get in front of more customers worldwide, and so more people get to know how wonderful this thing is that they invented. Because the aggregator or the portfolio company, Foundry in our case, portfolio company, is saying, hey, we're going to either have great partners in fulfillment and logistics and new product sourcing, or we're going to buy and invent it. So the capability for us, Foundry capabilities, beginning with, the people on our team have deep experience at Amazon and other places in operating brands. But those capabilities will translate into software and analytics and data science. So, our money is raised certainly for acquisition, but also to build the infrastructure and capabilities to grow these brands.
Awesome. And I do want to take one quick step back because it's a question everybody's been asking, and it sounds like if anybody's going to know, it's going to be you. So you had mentioned, why is it that we're seeing these 11, 12, 14-day delays in between the inventory arriving and actually seeing it on your account? Why is that?
So I can speculate, and my speculation might be more accurate than others, because the first thing I'll say is, I don't know. I'm not at Amazon, and I can wonder too. Amazon's also is operating at a bigger scale than they ever have. Right. So I think we all tend to look at the big guy and go, they must have figured it out because they're so much bigger. And we all see a lot of things that Amazon does have figured out. But Amazon is still operating at a bigger scale than they ever have. They have to deal with the same problems we all deal with. There's not enough, it's hard to find good and great employees in the United States. Right. And Amazon's got to find them for a big network of warehouses. Some of us may be having trouble scaling with the e-commerce rapid growth. Amazon, just because we haven't seen it as much. So, I suspect there's some of that. And so that causes prioritization choices. If you don't have unlimited capacity of people and space, you're going to prioritize. One of my favorite interview questions used to be, you've got 100 trucks. Which one it's Q4, which one do you unload first?
Right? With the highest volume.
Because we can go into algorithms, we can go into software, we can go, my father-in-law was just at the yellow truck. And actually, it's a great answer because yellow shipping lines was typically used for some of the consumer electronics. And he didn't know it was a great answer. He just likes yellow and wanted to bypass the question. But so I do think, Amazon still has processes to invent. And that leaves the door open, right? You can make choices to go, great, I'm going to be part of the Amazon story, but and there's a lot of customers there, but what are other channels or other solutions I should be looking at? Should I be participating with the service provider who offers seller fulfilled Prime as an insurance mechanism, right? If Amazon's slow to receive my stuff and it goes out of stock, do I still have, an offering with a Prime badge because I use seller fulfilled Prime? Right. So thinking about optionality, is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Also, Amazon changes policies, right? Or Amazon does tests quite a bit. When we're in the detail page, at any given time, we had 400 experiments, A/B experiments going on in the detail page. And so if Amazon's doing some tests on if we receive this first, does it generate better customer sentiment? Does it generate more purchases, in the receive order? And some of that's not always visible to us, right? So,
because
Amazon growing hasn't figured it out. That's my speculation. They still have people to hire, and they're making prioritization choices. What I think you can expect, though, is Amazon will try to make prioritization choices that there's tenant, like they're going to try to drive customer satisfaction. And they do see, but when there's a tension in sellers or customers, but when they see a tension between the shopping customer and the seller customer, they're going to err in favor of the shopping customer. Right. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon, Walmart, any of these marketplaces, ultimately what they are, large supply chain companies, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's how quickly can I get this product into our warehouse? How quickly can I get it out? And that's sort of what we've also seen with a lot of their warehousing structure. They're moving away from being a warehouse and more into this fulfillment center by some of the changes that they have, by changing IPI scores and by limiting the capacity or inventory that certain brands can come in. Are those struggles that Foundry would help brands that you acquire out with understanding how to optimize them or how to, I guess, optimize inventory and forecasting?
So I didn't write the IPI score, but I did lead selling coach and a number of the features and calculators in Seller Central. Right? Should you put this thing into FBA? Well, what are the assumptions? Are you still going to make profit? Is it still going to be profitable? I definitely spent some time there. Right. I think myself, but also the people we've hired at Foundry understand if in some cases we did decide and define that version at that time of an Amazon policy or an Amazon score. And so we can use that to our advantage. So even say for receive, I would look at the receive time across all of the different Amazon warehouses and use the options that Amazon gives you. They want to assign you a warehouse. They give you options sometimes to pick a different warehouse or to buy additional services, buy prep services. Even though you don't need prep services, look at the receive time if you do purchase prep services, right? And so there's these ways to navigate some of the Amazon obstacles that you can find temporary shortcuts or you can find temporary speed ups sometimes. And our team knows where to look for those. We know when to anticipate. Seasoned sellers know a lot of the same things we do too. If you've been selling for half a decade or more, Amazon's going to make FBA fee changes sometime in the June, July, window. You might as well anticipate it, right? But there's some sellers that don't, and a lot of the aggregators are new to Amazon operations, right? So they don't necessarily know to anticipate that and put that into their profit model. So yes, Foundry is equipped. We don't have shortcuts. We don't have special access to Jeff, or Andy, or Jeff in space. I wonder if they'll still keep sending question mark emails from space, like a question mark email from Andy sends question mark emails too, so I'm sure the detail page got one for being down last weekend. So Foundry definitely is looking at what we know of Amazon, and then how do we take that beyond, right? What I know about Romania and Eastern Europe and the shipping there and the opportunities there. For some brands, it's going to be the right thing to expand. So we do see our skills, capabilities, and tools from our team to be able to help sellers grow their revenue, or the brands we buy, we're going to be able to grow their revenue. And then for the brands that take an earn-out payment as part of their deal, that's going to be to their benefit.
And that's amazing. And the main reason that I even asked is because I have had this big push that I think certain people understand. And it's that we've sort of been living in the supply chain bubble, relying on this just-in-time, extremely lean supply chain. Yeah. And it's something that a lot of people have built, not necessarily a house of cards, but that's all they know. They know that their lead times are 30 days and that Amazon takes 7 days to check in. And they only know how to request certain things when they're creating their shipping plans, or how to trick the algorithm by saying that it's being shipped from a California warehouse, so it's going to an Amazon California warehouse. So that's all they know. But it's so much more than that. And so when we have those conversations with them, sometimes it is thinking outside the box. It's, hey, what else can you do in your supply chain that might not seem like the status quo? It might not seem like the most relevant thing to your business in the near future, but in the long term, it's something that is an option. So I'm excited that Foundry is bringing that to the table. And in regards to international expansion, I mean, are these plans that you talk to the leaders at those brands early on? Is it something that you try to find out where they're sitting at? Well, I guess can you walk us through the process of when you're first talking with a brand and even getting them into the Foundry collective?
Yeah. So the way we look at it at Foundry is we're looking to acquire brands. We track a number of brands. And look at the opportunity for growth those brands have, and then approach the brands that we think have great opportunities for growth. That opportunity could be driven by they've been launching new products, they've been spending in advertising, but we think they could spend more. They could be international expansion, adding seller fulfilled prime or other 3PLs to them. So we see opportunity with the brand, and we then reach out to a brand. And start talking to them and see if they're interested in selling. Is this a good transition time for them? At that point, if we get to a letter of intent or an intent to acquire or interest, we start going deeper into operational due diligence, what the risks are, competitive, specifically for the brand and the SKUs associated with this brand. And then we look to reach a deal with the brand owner, at which point we take over the company. And we look for opportunities for the founder to get back to what they love doing. So if they want to just take a break, great. If they want to talk with us about roles and like what's their next product they'd like to develop and would they like to partner on that, we have that conversation as well. So we do that with Lisa Abel from Motivation Without Borders. She loves making the product part of it. We've taken over a lot of the operations. Once we take a brand over, we first make sure we want to do no harm to the brand's growth, and we start pulling them into our data systems and our financial systems so that we can run our books, but also we can start tracking their business and build a growth plan, or build on the growth plan that we may have built during acquisition. And that growth plan will certainly involve new products, involve advertising and operations, but also how fast and when do we think the opportunities to move them to additional marketplaces, expand or create a D2C marketplace for them, and then bring them, as well as bring them overseas. So we want to optimize what they have, see if we can find some efficiencies across our portfolio, and then where can we invest to expand, expanding marketplaces or investing to rebrand them, new packaging and look at. So that's what a purchase and integration lifecycle with Foundry looks like. I think we've launched 50% of the products in one of our first acquisitions are now new products in the first 90 days, where we've been able to take what they have and quickly accelerate some of their new product launches.
Nice.
And then we'll look at, for this brand, it hasn't made sense to go international for the type of customers they sell. It's kind of US education, school-based products. And that's part of some of our new products. Our new products will be more international friendly, and we'll put in a little less translation, a little more international portable format. So we're getting them ready to be able to expand them overseas, or to expand them to another marketplace.
And so Kellyanne made it really clear when we spoke to her on the podcast that Foundry is not looking for just like any brand and every brand. You guys are looking for, very specific brands to purchase and to work with and to help build. But the question that I have, because it's clear Foundry does things differently, is when you guys say you purchase a brand, is it like a full-on change of hands of ownership, or is it kind of like a Shark Tank situation where you guys are working for X percentage of ownership and the owner is still kind of involved?
We own it lock, stock, and barrel.
Okay.
So, we're taking the whole company, and what we're doing with the founder may take an earnout, right? So it's actually the flip the other way, where the founder is handing us ownership of the keys. We now own the house, right? And the founder has exited their business. This is an entrepreneurship story, right? They've hit an exit. So from our perspective, as we build a portfolio of these brands that we own, we do want to do two things. One with that portfolio is we don't need thousands of brands, right? There are literally tens of thousands of brands on Amazon that have been born on Amazon and more popping up. $110 million sellers is $1 billion revenue company, right? So a portfolio of $110 million businesses, not to say, and now in a portfolio, we're going to have a mix. But if we were trying to make $1 billion revenue company, That's dozens, of brands that we're going to acquire, not hundreds, right? So we're not looking to go like build a big set. So we'll look at hundreds and thousands of brands, because for many of them, it might not be the right time to sell. They may need to, it's like selling your house. Sometimes you need to fix and finish a few things before your house is ready to sell, because you'll get this much if you get it fixed or finished or the renovation done versus selling it here. And we'd love to get that feedback to founders. Like if it's the wrong time to sell, we'd rather have them wait or give them some guidance on what they might want to do. Great. But when we buy them, we own it. And then we're going to take that, we take that whole brand and merge it into our portfolio platform for operations and our portfolio systems, right? We operate all brands off of the same systems. We don't just run 10 kitchens or 100 kitchens, right? We're bringing it all in, right?
All about efficiency.
Right? There's efficiency there, right? Sometimes there's opportunity. So typical path is a brand is not spending enough in some place. They're not, because maybe they don't have enough capital. They're not making enough capital to make some big spends. So if we can add some capital, we can spend more in advertising to accelerate their growth than they were necessarily spending, because we think they might be underspending. They were having supply chain because they were, well, let's hold off on making that next container purchase. Well, that's your risk of going out of stock, right?
Yeah.
So let's smooth out. I love what you're saying about, a lot of sellers in that supply chain world, just for the minute, because I love supply chain. They have one play, maybe two playbooks. They're not familiar with optionality. And so in a low variability world or low variability environment, they're fine. But as soon as you go dynamic, right? I'm trying to buy mountain bikes for my kids. Have you tried to buy a mountain bike recently? Trying to buy a mountain bike between $500 and $2,000 is not an easy thing, right? It's they're just not there, right? Go try to buy a car, right? So you take maybe you need to do some bundling. Maybe you need to buy some other stuff, and so we do think about that at Foundry. We're buying dozens, not hundreds, and we assess, is it the right time for this brand to sell? Do we see brand growth acceleration potential when we evaluate a brand? Can we, and is it us? Is it what we do that we own? So we really like brands that are things customers use regularly in and around their household. We like fitness products. We like pet products. We like backyard grilling, garden, patio. We like kitchen. We like home decor. Things that are pretty low complexity supply chain. There's not processors, not enough laptops out there today. Not a lot of risk of overstock. You're not eating it. We like topical. We don't necessarily like things you're eating. Just it's not what we're strong at risk wise. And so we love those brands. We think there's a lot of potential around brands that customers use every day. It also makes it easier for us to move marketplaces with them, right? So
you just described like 10 marketplaces that I could imagine that you can move to. I mean, you could think of Home Depot, Lowe's, Wayfair. You could. There's so many other marketplaces that you could actually expand us into, which is genius.
$100,000, right?
Well,
Exactly. That's something that I don't think brand owners can necessarily do by themselves. Yeah. Now, is the alternative to selling your company taking investment? Is there enough investment out there? Like let's say venture capital or private equity out there to just invest in these companies and taking part ownership rather than fully selling them?
Well, I think for us, that's just not our approach. And that's part of what we get to. Is it the right time to sell? If you as a brand owner have been driving your growth and you have a clear growth plan for the next 18 to 36 months, you have the operational know-how, the strategic knowledge, and the specialist knowledge to be able to achieve the growth tools and infrastructure in your own business, it might be the right thing for you to grow your business first and then look for an exit, right? We're looking for brand owners who are ready for a transition to get back to what they love doing. Because again, as you hit that $5, $10, $15 million mark, at some point there's a transition point where you've been a generalist and you've been doing everything, and maybe you have 2 or 3 virtual assistants and 1 agency partner. you now are spending enough on advertising. It might be worth having an advertising specialist on your team, right? And if you don't want to make that transition, that's not the kind of business that you want to run. You want to go back and start another, 0 to 10. That's part of what we're looking for, right? Is cellular to us. We have those specialists, and we will transition your business. We'll start running those brands under our specialists in the portfolio, and go back and do what you love doing, which is invent the next product, or work with us to invent more products within your brand or some of the other brands we have, right? Because you love the product invention part, great, right? Or maybe you love the brand connection part, great. Work with us as a founder who's been acquired to double down on branding, not only your product, but double down on some of the branding that we have in some of our other products.
And so as the brand owner, when they sell, do they have during that transition or buyout period, do they have access to your specialists? Are they able to learn how to build that next company and what working with a specialist versus an agency would be? So,
when we buy them, we try to do it pretty quick, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing that pretty quickly. I could say quickly, Dad, adverb. So we try to do that fairly quickly. So it's not like there's months during this transition period, right? Once we've made the decision and we've reached an agreement, right? We've closed on that agreement, and that may take a few days to weeks. Now we're in the first 90 days. We're working with the owner to transition their business, document their business processes if they haven't already, and transition them into our systems. Right? So they're going to have several weeks with us doing that they are certainly going to see, oh, I'm moving from to, and they're going to see what they're moving to, right? So I do think there's certainly windows for learning there for founders who are going to see our processes as we move them onto them.
Yeah, and I mean that exposure itself is invaluable. I mean, it's something that I think you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of time business owners think that they know a lot. You know enough to build a $10 million business. I'll give you that, but there's so much more that's out there, which is awesome.
We love founders, right? We love founders because they've just spent 36 months getting a butt kicking education, right? They learn by failure, they learn by mentors, and so to make a transaction with them and let them walk out the door. Why would you let that knowledge and experience walk out the door without learning from their mistakes too? And then also, giving them an opportunity to do the next thing they want to do.
Oh yeah.
So
let's talk a little bit more about opportunities. So obviously there's a lot of opportunities for brands to for brand owners to sell their brand. And you talked a little bit about the opportunity that's in Eastern Europe right now. So with your years of experience in e-commerce, what are some of the unique opportunities that e-commerce brand owners have right now that maybe they haven't had before?
Yeah. Well, I think one obviously is moving from I built this business to replace my job and turn it into, and think a little bit more of an entrepreneur. What is my end game? Do I have a 2 and 3 year business goal versus just survive another 4 Prime days on Amazon or something? Because then the first opportunity is it time to exit, or how far away am I from an exit? That's a new opportunity. All this in the last year, all this money's popped up. Second opportunity is, some of the playbooks, these aggregators, international expansion, rebranding, how could I do those myself? So eMag is testing a program where if you are shipping out of Germany and Poland today, just give them your listings. They will translate it to Romanian for you. They will list the product with the same euro pricing and a small surcharge to customers. And then they will take care of the last mile transportation. So you can get your products listed and translated for free. They'll list it. And then if you're already shipping out of Germany and Poland, there's no additional hassle for you. Then you have to take the order in and be able to get it to your door of your German or Polish warehouse. So you can trial some marketplaces. There's some other international marketplaces that you could kind of toe in the water trial. So that's another opportunity. And then I think advertising continues to evolve. Obviously, Amazon spends a big deal, but video is a big deal. Shopify and Fabric are some of the new D2C sites that if you're not looking at how do I drive customer connection? How do I drive customer conversation? I work, partner with a branding agency who has recycling clients, and they have built a ton of customer engagement just on showing how recycling works, showing how they, one of the companies recycles aluminum that they then provide to Tesla. So it's convenient when you have some great customers like Tesla. But what are you doing to look at expand? Is it time to exit, and how do you plan for that? Do you try additional marketplaces, and how could you toe in the water to try that? Are you adding new ways to connect with your customers that aren't going to get you in trouble on Amazon, right? And then we could do a whole show on listing optimization. It's my favorite. After having built a number of things with our team on the detail page and understanding what causes customers to buy and what doesn't, it's amazing to me of maybe don't think big. Let's just spend a week on all your listings. And let's say we call it optimization. Let's call it listing tune-up. And so, I can spend a couple minutes on that. I just think it's, eliminate the trust detractors on your website, or on your Amazon website. If you have these big long titles, if you follow the, somebody's score that says have a title that's at least 150 characters long, don't do that. Have a great title that says what the product is, what the brand is, and maybe one highlight feature of your product. When you have extra marketing stuff, it's not a radio spot, and customers don't read it, they scan it. They're shopping Amazon, and are you a shyster, or is this really a valid brand, right? And then look across your pictures and your words match, right? So now you can what are you doing? Don't just optimize the slots on the page, but move the best content, the best pictures and the best words to where customers go. So I see so many sellers that make great, enhanced brand content. And then you look at their product gallery and their images. It's like, why didn't you take these great images from your enhanced brand content and put some of that up there, right? Because we know every customer looks up there. I know how many customers look down there. You don't know exactly how many customers on there, but we all know it's a lot less. Customers look up here, right? So move that content to where the customers are. Play with machine learning. So if you have 100, 200 reviews, that means you have thousands of words that customers have told you. And you can use a tool that kind of extracts word frequency or extracts, kind of most repeatedly mentioned. Because again, if we're going to move that content to where customers look, we all know they look up there at the product descriptions. Are there words and sentiment down in all those words of customer reviews that you can move up top to your product bullets and play with the format? Just A/B test, right? I grew up working in a bike shop from 14 to 22. So 8 years in a bike shop, and we would merchandise and experiment and clean up and freshen the showroom, physical showroom of the store. And there's a lot of things like, well, it's online, right? Well, just try it. Just change the bullet format, the order of the words, change, look at who's best in class. So I think there's a lot of fun things that sellers can do. To go to the machine learning part, there's a lot of, I think, very approachable text-based machine learning software algorithms out there. You can even try to build one yourself on Amazon SageMaker or something. And plug those words in and see if you can predict which words will increase conversion or which words customer react to from what was in customer reviews, or predict like, will these words generate more positive customer reviews? So I think that's another opportunity just on listings, right? If you're not planning on selling your business, you don't want to try shipping product into another country. I think there's some new opportunities just on your own listing page on your existing marketplace to look at it a different way. Try testing. Just test the look and feel to see if you can drive conversion up.
Yeah, and we were just actually talking to Troy Johnson. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him from Seller.tools.
Yeah.
And he was talking more so about that. I know you touched on it also, aside from the listing optimization, which of course is very important. When you were saying that is like, I just thought of like, the F-scan pattern that everyone has when they're looking at a website. That's essentially your listing, right? Just move everything to the top, maybe right below it, but enhanced brand content is probably going to be the last thing that they look at, aside from reviews. But he was talking a lot about that customer interaction, and owning the customer, right? Making sure that you can get as much feedback from them as possible and engage with them as frequently as possible. Is that something that you take into consideration when you are talking to brands? As in, I see it as if a brand is on Amazon and they don't use something like Seller.tools to re-engage with them through many chat flows or anything like this, they just made a one-off sale. They, as much as, you might have a great card insert, it's a one-off, it's a cash flow sale, not necessarily a brand building sale. Do you have those conversations with the brands that you talk to? I imagine you do it through the initial research, but when you talk to them, I guess what level of detail do you look into for customer books or customer lists?
So, are you guys Prime customers?
Yeah. I think everyone in America is by now, right?
Actually, no. Right?
No.
And
I guess not.
I mean, I think Jeff made the fun, antagonistic quote a while back of, he wanted to make it economic irresponsibility not to be a Prime member, right? Because it had so many benefits for everybody. That is like taking customer LTV, out to the nth, right? And then, you can look around people and you can start to see their brand affinities, right? I buy a particular brand because I have an affinity to it and I start to feel an attachment to it, right? I love Shinola products out of Detroit, Frost River out of Minnesota, right? There's a certain set that the brand says to me. It's, some people buy a brand because they want to have that look on them. Maybe more the affinity part. If you're not paying attention to your customer signals, if you're not engaging with your customers, I guess I wonder, how are you learning from them? And how are you really, do you actually believe that you can build customer affinity without engagement? I'd have to think about that a little bit, but why would you? Why wouldn't you look at signals and engage and remember that customer over the transaction? Because that puts you, Buick had to respond, right? It's not your father's Oldsmobile. They had lost touch with their customers. They didn't keep building new customers, so they had to build a whole ad campaign around it, right? From a detail page, like the F style, again, I have the privilege of doing eyeball tracking studies, so I know where people look, right? And I know, should you offer a coupon or not? You should probably be working with those things, because I also know like which components in the purchase process as they process that page, right? And they process the page not only in F but in a spiral, right? They're probably going to look at multiple product pages in a given purchase at any price. At a high price, they're going to look at that product page a lot, not a long time, but a lot, so multiple times. And then in that spiral, the first time they look at a page, like maybe they'll come back. But if they don't, it's going to be seconds, right? We obsess over our pages. We spend minutes on them. Shopping customers, like they look at it like a picture, right? And they're scanning for certain objects in the picture. It's much more like a Where's Waldo than it is like an article you read, even in your Facebook feed, right? Or your LinkedIn feed. So understanding how people process that information, and then it is the first part that I think great listing page optimization. I haven't seen any software that's doing like optimization, right? I've seen software out there and some tools out there that make your listing page better merchandised. But we've got so much to invent software-wise on optimization, and even experts are still a long way from optimization. And then, some of that optimization is signals. So it's absolutely, Amazon is giving you more and more tools to engage with your customers. But on the Amazon marketplace, we're all brands born online, right? So And right now sellers are great at filling in the gaps or inventing. So whether it's inserts, whatever, but I think, some of the better places are, I've helped some clients start a business from scratch where it was Instagram, Shopify, because it was product that customers weren't shopping for on Amazon anyway. So they're gonna have to advertise a lot of advertising money somewhere, right? And what they wanted to advertise, how they wanted to advertise, it worked better for them to launch that way. And now they're moving some of their business onto Amazon on the back end. But the focus was, in your metrics you're looking at as a company, are you thinking about repeat purchases? So to answer your question directly, we certainly look at, if we had two companies that are relatively equal, the tiebreakers for us are going to be customer attachment. One of them could be customer attachment strength. How many repeat purchases do you have? How much customer engagement, customer following do you have across your channels? Nozzle.ai out of the UK is offering a software that is really helping people take their advertising and look at it from an LTV lens. I think that's great. I think it's part of the natural maturity and growth level of brands is you need to be able to put some numbers around, do I have any sense of my customer connection? And do I have any levers to know how to move it? Right. And advertising is only one of those levers. Watching signals like what words customer using, not just knowing your reviews, but what's your review recency? What's your review sentiment? All right. Are your reviews generally negative or generally positive? Why do you feel you should, don't feel hostage to Amazon's 1 to 5 star, and that's the only way to look at reviews. If you take all those words out of the reviews, you can do some sentiment analysis and go, do I think these reviews are generally negative, generally positive? Which way are they trending? Right. And that's, some fun stuff you can do to play with data that isn't super sophisticated or super hard.
And there's
well, it sounds like.
In those, yeah, it does. It does. But like, there's basic information in those reviews too that they can grab for those sentiments. Like if you're selling like clothing or like a dog product, if it's like, it's a 4-star review, let's say, like great product, color arrived as expected, but the sizing was wrong. Yeah. Like this didn't fit my dog like the size chart said. Like
that's a great example. Is that a generally positive review with maybe one small thing, or is that a negative sentiment review with a few little positives? Right. That's a great way of kind of going. And that's a simple way of doing it. Right. If you took the 200 words out of a review and said on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being negative, 5 being positive, I'm going to apply a number to each of the 200 or just to the 10, 15 that actually express a feeling or sentiment. Mm-hmm. Right. And then average it out. There you go. There's a sentiment score. Right.
There you go.
Super simplistic. And there are maybe better math. There are more sciencey ways of doing it. But even if you're just trying that and seeing if it's worth paying attention to for your customers, put a little time into it, right? Amazon gives you so much data exposure that you can then, try some different things, and that will make you stand out. You don't need to optimize your listings at the science level per se. I might do it because I love it. But, if you want to stand out from your competitors, like maybe your listings just need to show look a little bit better than the 3-4 other likely products on a virtual shelf that a shopper might look at, right? So you don't need to have to make, I don't need to go get a 10 out of 10 score on some made up score algorithm for my detail page. But maybe I just want to have a slightly higher score, a little bit more trustable and a little bit more clear page to say, what is this thing? Is it the one for me? And how do I get it? Than the 3 or 4 other likely products that a customer might look at when they're deciding which one to buy, right? We sometimes get misdirected to the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we sell more
stuff? All the time.
How do we sell more stuff and make customers happier versus like, I want to make the best listing pages ever. Sell more stuff and make more customers happy. So
there we go. To wrap a bow on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely, it sounds simple. I know it's more complex than it actually is. Obviously, and I think every other Amazon seller will agree, it's the listing is their baby, right? So every word that they change on there is like changing a little piece of their baby. Maybe changing their clothing is how we could make a quick analogy on it. But
let's pause. go ahead, finish the question.
Well, I was just going to ask, how does that make a huge difference when it's becoming so competitive? When you might have a great product or a great idea, but there's 20 more ideas just like you, and they might all be using the same softwares or tools to actually maybe optimize your page a little bit better, using better keywords, maybe looking at your listing because you're starting to be a better seller. I guess, how does that work?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of great listing. I still see a lot. Let me say it differently. I still see a lot of opportunities for product pages to improve, right? And even just the number one thing, I'm like, please, upload a bigger image that takes up at least half the page. Like, Amazon's willing to give you half the page for your picture. Please, upload a great image that because if customers mentally, as they're shopping, are, what is this thing, right? They'll see that faster. If you remember, they scan the page, they read the whole page like an image, they process it like an image. Give them those, simplify it for them. Less words, more pictures. It's great. Where you're going, which I thought was a little different, is be careful, and then also continue revalidating, right? Amazon's not static. They do change, things over time. Like, 5 years ago, if you had a non-white background, you were on the naughty list, and it's like, oh, I don't know, right? And I don't know if I go to a detail page now that doesn't have at least one image on a non-white background. Like, things have morphed over time. And so if you as a seller, especially if you've been selling for a while, are holding on to things, like I call it keyword stuffing. God bless America. If customers don't read, they're scanning the page like an image. Why are you putting 1,000 words into your product bullets, right? You're making it harder. Well, because someone told me a long time ago that the more I put into those product books, it's going to help my search rank, right? The best thing that helps your search rank, sell stuff, right? Sales will help your search rank, right? And so, if you go all in on this belief that someone told you once upon a time that's not being validated, like, keep open on the validation part. It's better to be curious. It's a better word than suspicious. Curious, about, is this really working? And the second part is, I see a lot of sellers so the one fallacy I see is they fall prey to that, like, I've got Amazon figured out, I'm going to keyword stuff. And then it gets hard for them to let go. And that gets the second part of keep testing. All right. It's not a one-way door. You can change it back. You can change your content back if it's wrong. But make it easier on the customer. They don't read, so test it and don't hold on. And the second, Amazon has hundreds of millions of customers. So, if you live in a place where there's 1 billion people and you're 1 in a million, there's 1,000 other people just like you, right? And so, we live in a world with 7.8 billion people, 6, 8. So if you're 1 in a million, there's thousands of people just like you. And so when you set up that page because you think it's the way it should be and you don't have data to back that up, well, there's thousands of people just like you who are shopping on Amazon who do agree. But there's thousands of people not just like you who are going to process that information a little differently. They're looking for a few different words. They like a different format. And so if you continue testing, you're going to find we're not trying to make the perfect page. We're trying to make a page that works for lots of groups, not just one, all people the same way, right? So those two fallacies, the ones I see where, working with sellers a lot, is getting that point where they're willing to let go a little bit of something they've come to believe. Put more words in it so we'll get better search rank. Or make the title huge. Put emojis. I think in his Amazon.
All caps.
All caps.
Put emojis in, right? Now, sometimes all caps works when it's partial, right? And it's a good format to test because customers are scanning for certain words. Like, is it certified? Is it organic? Is it, is it the size that I'm looking for? And so selective slight use of all caps is a good temporary thing. It's not a horrible thing. Don't use emojis. But because emojis generally are a trust killer, not a trust helper. And so someone sees emojis, they're like, this is a $30 purchase. Do I really trust somebody? Is this like, a mall store? Or is it like, the little stall in the middle of the mall that's going to be gone if it doesn't work, right? Transaction risk is a big deal for people shopping online, especially as you go up the ASP ladder. So don't give your customers any reason. So preach down on that. But if you're willing to kind of test, keep being curious about your beliefs about what works or doesn't work on Amazon in order to validate it. And then also remember that it's not one perfect finished thing. The customer will decide. I've been surprised so many times, especially in social media. You're like, why did that post get so many likes and comments? Like, that was a picture of my dog, right? I didn't see anything smart, We're surprised all the time by what customers vote for, right? Or what your audience votes for. And so, tying those two things together, I think sellers, they're not ready to try international markets. And I think it's the barrier to try them is easier every day. If it's not an exit time frame for them, trying some new things on your listings, because guess what? I don't know how many levers in your business are going to generate more short-term profit growth than improving your conversion. If you're selling, $100,000 a product a year or a week, $100,000 a product a week, on a 5% conversion, and you can jump that, to a 6% conversion, right? Do the math, right? That's a good bump. So, for a lot of sellers, it's something very approachable. Go play with your product pages, and make that the new behavior. Is that you're doing 2 to 3 experiments every month on your product pages. That's a great learning. Awesome.
Lots of incredible information, and I hate to say it, but we've hit our hour. I hate to say
quick.
It was very fast. So if folks have any other questions for you, Stefan, or if they want to get involved with Foundry, where can they get a hold of you? Where can they learn more information?
You bet. Well, Foundry is foundrybrands.com. I am Stefan at foundrybrands.com, as well as very approachable on LinkedIn, which is probably one of the easiest places to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And we are going to have that URL in the description of the audio and of the video experience, as always. Stefan, thank you so much for being here. And thanks for telling everybody to stop using emojis. That's awesome.
You bet. You guys have a great time. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you guys liked what you saw today or heard, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your network, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, or if you're not listening on Apple Podcasts, maybe on Spotify or Google, go on ahead and activate those auto downloads, or you guys can even write us a review and rating on Facebook too. Lots of good ways to share the show so that others never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Stefan Haney. Stefan, thank you so much, dear, again. This has been great.
My pleasure.
Bye, guys.